Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser. Morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. It's Monday, and Grumpy is here because he's seen us play, apparently. But he's not, he's smirking for the results, but he has seen us play, apparently. So we'll talk a lot about the game. Matush is in the house as always. What's happening?
I have seen this play as well, and I wish I hadn't. But I'm here this morning, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, sunny 19-degree day
I was
up
going to say,
here.
you have not opened the window or door yet.
It's at least not as gray as it's been, and you take the little victories where you can, you smash and grab, if you will.
Smash and grab it was. Weather is weird. Like, I mean, obviously we're both in Chicago. What was it? Thursday, I think, because started doing the walks with the wifey, and it was like 60 degrees, and then it was 20 or something like that. I'm like, holy shit, it dropped. And I was, while we were doing those walks, I was like, I mean, cold or not, we'll walk. Yeah, no, because I could barely take the freaking garbage can around. It was that freaking cold, and I'm not gonna bundle up just to walk over there. But yes, the game was not a fun watch. I think we have to admit, especially the first half was mind-boggling. Um, Amazing to get a win out of that. And I'll be honest, like when the McAllister first goal happened, I was like, holy cow, like did not have any business winning this, but like we'll take it. This is a true definition of smash and grab kind of a deal. And then it gets canceled out by VAR, which I understand, but I don't know. There are some rules they just gotta fix the goddamn rule. Like I know you're following the rule, but they gotta fix the rule. But anyway, I felt like, I mean, to be fair, we didn't deserve it anyway, kind of a deal. And we'll take the draw and see what happens. And then the other one happens. And then you start celebrating. It's a lot more legit goal. You're like, oh shit, Van Dijk is so big. We didn't even see the guy behind him. And it's not off because I was like, fuck, this one is offside too. I have to admit, the second one felt more right. I don't know because I was pissed off at the call on the first one.
Yeah, I think it's so hard, right? Because by letter of the law, it was a handball. I understand. The difference is that if this was a defender in the box taking that shot, they don't call the handball. But
Yes.
because it provides an advantage for the offensive side, then it is a handball, as crappy as that is. Even though there was nowhere else he could have put it. The only other place he could have put his arm is like in front of his actual body. But there was nothing that he was going to do in that moment outside of what he did. So I'm sure all of us were very frustrated. I was very frustrated with that. Knowingly, by the letter of the law, it made sense. Now, the second one, like you're saying, I was jubilant, and then as soon as I saw the replay, I went, "What the?" And I threw a pillow. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. This is, and then when they called it onside, I was thinking that I needed glasses or that something was going on in my head because I did not realize, like you're saying, there was someone behind Van Dijk. He's just such a colossal figure that there are people that get lost behind him. So I think over the course of 90 minutes, not a justifiable win. Over the course of the last 5 minutes, justifiable win. You're muted. You're muted.
Damn it. That's how I felt because it felt wrong in a way to like win the way we did. I mean, I think because this is more of a goal. The other one is like just after playing like shit, a bounce off your ass to go into a goal. I mean, totally, you could not back into a win, literally, any better than that, probably. But this one was like a goal too, and a legit one. Yeah, I mean, Ryan says, by the way, good morning to everybody. Hit that like as you hop on, please. We are like what? We are like 10 live viewers now. There should be ideally 10 likes, but hit that like. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. But um I felt the freaking rule is so dumb. And I understand that if he like slapped the ball into the goal or something like that, using it as an advantage, he's literally turning around and it's his back. And honestly, if you have to look really closely 80 times to see if it's his back or arm, because it almost felt like both, like where it hits, it felt like it was both. Again, we had a call like this, I think, was that last week, where I was like, I understand it's the rule, I just hate the rule. Like, fix the rule, because it just, some of these things do not make sense. I was watching something the other day, and it turns out they were talking about like what is handball. Nobody knows what handball is, and I think that's a good point you make. It changes, depends on which box you're in, which makes zero sense. So the
That's how
natural
it's
position thing is not a constant.
that's how it's written though, right? I was trying to look up the actual rule, and it says if it is an offense if a player scores in the opponent's goal directly from their hand, arm, even if accidental, including by the goalkeeper, immediately after the ball has touched their hand slash arm, even if accidental. So that is what is written there. So it is the rule. It is just very frustrating when we have it. That doesn't seem as black and white depending on the context of the game that we've seen. I think that's the frustrating thing, is that the gray areas are always going to be a case of frustration, because we go from one week to another not really being as consistent as we would want to be. But yeah, I mean, all things aside, Hugo should have buried that header regardless. I think that's the thing here too, is that we shouldn't even had to have been talking about that, because that ball should have been in the back of the net from that header. And it's the one thing that's really missing from that kid's game before I think he can really explode more, because if he can get that on track, I mean, he's gonna be unstoppable.
Yeah, because there was a moment in the first half too. Like, I know what he's trying to do, but that had to be the worst try ever.
It was like the one that looped to like
that.
20 feet over the goal.
He's like trying to head it like to go over to the back corner over everybody, and it just went like to like the 80th row or something. I was like, that was a horrible attempt of what you wanted to do and what you had in mind. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's shocking that you can walk away with that with 3 points. It's one of those where like you see like a horrific accident, and the older guy has like is like a little scratch over here. You're like, oh, they make these cars so safe these days. I mean, it just felt like that. We walked away from an accident with like 3 points and came back, and you're tied with Chelsea now. You're tied with United, who's going away to Everton today. What do you make of the, I consider, a little over the top disappointments? It's not going to be a fun podcast because I know Bickler is like one of those at the end of that spectrum, for example. I don't understand you look at the recent records, and yes, it was a horrible performance, but I don't understand how you don't at the same time get excited that this team is getting stuff out of these games now. And this is your, what, third clean sheet in a row now? So there are definitely things that are positive. It was probably the worst we played. It felt like a 6:30 a.m. game in the Klopp era. Like, what are we doing out here? But then we never picked it up afterwards either. Usually that only lasts like 30, 35 minutes and stuff. But where are you at with that? This is not working and this is working. And
I, like you mentioned, that's the third clean sheet in a row. It's 5 wins out of 6, I believe. And you're where you need to be right now in terms of the competition of the table, of competing with Villa, Chelsea, United for those last few spots. Because you look at Villa play and you're like, they're not really good enough for Champions League, are they? And you look at Chelsea play and you're like, they're not really good enough for Champions League, are they? You look at the game yesterday, like, we're not really good enough for Champions League. So like, we're all in the same bubble, but we're keeping clean sheets and they're not. And I think that's a big thing, especially at this point in the year. We always talk about, once it becomes February, you just take 3 points however you can get them. Obviously, you'll take them however you can get earlier in the season as well. But at this point in the season, you just take what you can get. And so I think for me, if Wirtz was playing yesterday and this is what it looked like, I think there would be a lot more concern in my head. I truly think that the late scratch and having him not be able to play and having to put Jones in, I think it really messed with the entire squad. And because what you do is you take several days to plan for a match, and you have certain ways that you practice. I mean, I'm assuming, right? I've never been behind the scenes. I'm assuming that you take several days to plan for certain matches because you think the opposition is going to play a certain way, and you set up to then be able to beat that opposition in whatever way you want to go. And then let's say you have that plan for 3-4 days.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes before the match starts, rip it all up. It doesn't matter because the one player who's been your engine for the last 2 months outside of Soboslai cannot play. So the disjointedness was something that I expected once I saw that. Like you're saying, I think after the first half, we probably should have seen a lot less of it. And it was very frustrating to see it continue to boil over into the second half. But I'm not shocked that we saw a poor performance on the pitch. I'm just shocked that it lasted so long. But in the end, still a clean sheet. You still get 3 points. You move on.
Yeah, we were talking about this with Kazi on Friday in terms of like we were saying, oh, at this point, performance doesn't matter, just get a results. And I would argue, honestly, overall, as long as you get the results, when does performance really matter? I keep saying this. I think there's like a 2-3 week periods in the middle of the season where it's matter. Because in the beginning, you're always like, okay, right now you just gotta win until everybody gets used to this A, B, C, whatever. And then now we're like, oh, it's the end. All you got to get is the 3 points. And I guess as long as you get to win. And look, we've had games, and I knew that's what Slot was going to say. 2 things from that press conference. I was kind of happy that he didn't sugarcoat how bad we played. Kind of highlighted the positive, I guess, of not conceding like we are. But he didn't say, oh, I thought we played a good game or something like that, because I think it was pretty obvious. I think more than the disjointness, because I can live with that. Gravenberg looking like, and Mecca, like Jones, like the midfield looking like they have never controlled a ball before.
Like if never played with each other.
Parts. I mean, it's like complete a pass. Like, what are we doing over here? But but the second thing is he mentioned, and I knew he was going to mention this, there were a lot of games where we played pretty good, but then either conceded a stupid goal in the last minutes or could never score at the end, and it was a draw or a loss and stuff. So sometimes your luck kind of turns and you got to kind of like take it and run with it, which is the only thing you can do. Scott says, yeah, it sounded like it's his back. I think the rumor was, or at least, in our Discord, the rumor was it was like a hamstring or something like that. Maybe we assumed because it was during warm-ups, but it was just a back thing. So he should be fine to go like this weekend. It sounded like some massage or whatever they can do.
Just precautionary thing, especially when it comes to the one guy that you need fit for the rest of the season. I don't think a game against Forest is the one where you risk, the next several weeks for him, because you would think that is a game that you can take control of without him. But yeah, to your point of, you were just talking about midfield. Hold on, there was something else that you had just mentioned that I was gonna piggyback off of.
Slot not sugarcoating it, or Slot saying we've been on the other side of this?
Yes, on the other side of this. So came across something. There's still 10 matches left to go in the season, in the Premier League at least. And this side 11. Sorry, there's only 27 played so far. 11. So this side has now set the record for the most goals after the 90th minute, both for and against. There's been 7 matches this year where there's been a game-winning goal, either for or against. 3-4, 4 against. So we've been on the wrong side of it 4 times, but that is a Premier League record already, and it could still continue to go up over the next 11 games. So buckle up, folks.
Yeah, no shits. Scotty says last minute change could have thrown off pressure, but performance was that bad. I mean, Curtis, look, maybe I pick on Curtis more because you would expect Curtis to take this chance and be like, aha, because that's that's almost, I don't want to say a positive for him, but that's like an opportunity for him to kind of, show that he deserves the minutes and earns the minutes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he dribbled into, like, I kept calling it like cul-de-sacs so many freaking times, like so indecisive, like on the ball, like not sure what he's gonna do, and it was just like, what are we doing? But then aside from that, I mean, you look at Gravenberg not being able to control the ball until it bounced off him like he was Lukaku or something, and then Mecca the same way. I know he got his goals at the end, but he was horrific throughout the game too. And I know everybody was kind of like picking on the front because we were not creating anything. But really, I'll ask you that. I felt it was because we had zero control in midfield and we couldn't even get him the ball. But then again, it did change slightly after the subs. Is that more because Forest is changing their game? Is that more because these guys were fresher that came in? Forest is starting to get tired. Because Slot did mention that. I'll be honest, like, obviously, as a Fenerbahce fan, they had a very easy time but you got to figure they still travel, they still had to battle the environment and stuff like that. So did they just wear down? Like, why did the last 15 to 20 look at least slightly better?
Anytime you bring on fresh legs and players to attack the game differently, it's going to look different. It's going to look better. We've commented on it several times over many years where it's a lot easier to go into a situation where you get thrown in for 15, 20 minutes and you run as much as you can to create as much as you can. That looks a lot different than trying to create from the very beginning. And the whole discourse around the wingers is getting so tiresome because there is nothing that Gakpo particularly could do that's going to sway the minds of those who just absolutely hate Gakpo, weirdly, almost to an extent of like you're hate watching. And it's not fun because these are guys that you are supposedly want to support, but it doesn't feel that way. And I understand, like with Mo, for example, like myself, I get frustrated with Mo because I do think like we are beyond the days of the Mo that we used to know. And that's okay because he is aging. You evolve as a footballer, as a person, as an athlete, whatever. You can't expect to be the same for a decade. So I think the criticism for either is okay, and that's not, we're saying it's not okay, but the fact that we can't sit back and objectively look at those two guys and go, they're the sole problem for everything, or is that really true? I don't think so, right? Because when you, like you're talking about, when you think about where the ball is being played, where the ball is being lost, the ball is being lost a lot in the midfield. The ball's not being lost a lot by the wingers. Obviously, they're going to do what they can, and the few times they got a chance to do something, it didn't go well because there really wasn't much of an outlet. There wasn't much there for them, but it really just starts in the midfield. And from how amazing this midfield engine was last year, how much we applauded them. We're talking about Gravenberch and McAllister being two of the best midfielders in the world at some point, to now questioning whether they should even be playing. That's the frustrating thing, is that it's like you always say, it's the Lovren scapegoat. There's always a player that no matter what they do, it's always their problem. And I feel like as fans, sometimes we do a really bad job of being able to objectively look at something.
Scotty says he's an admitted Gakpo hater. He has not hit the heights of the 7-1 era consistently. I mean, I think that's like the thing with wingers. Yet you're here, buddy. So what does that tell you? No, I guess my thing is, my defense is, it goes back to the same thing again, where I'm like defending the kid from the bullies, because I don't think, like, when you look at the performance yesterday, even, or like the Sunderland game and stuff like that, you have to look at his overall. The reason I think Rio does not play over him is mainly defensive. And I think that's why you probably see Robo with Rio more than Kerkez with Rio. People love a step over because it's fun to watch. And like, that's Rio's thing, beating people 1v1. But I don't think in a game where, if Rio starts that game, I think we have conceded. Because Gakpo does help a lot defensively. He knows position-wise where he has to drop. Those are things you kind of learn over time. One, and two, you need to be in real physical good shape to be able to do both at the same time. I did not look at yesterday's game. People in the 25th minute yesterday was talking about Gakpo when Gravenberch like looks like he's actually normally plays a different sport, and he's out there. He's like, this is so hard with the feet or something like that. It's just like bouncing off him all over the place. Curtis like dribbles literally into three people, circles around himself, falls, gives the ball away. I was actually shocked that back line should get a ton of credit from yesterday that we did not concede a goal, because the midfield in front of them definitely doesn't deserve any of that. But I think those are things people don't look at. This is not like attackers attack, midfield mids, and defense kind of a deal. You have to be able to play together, and I don't think he's there yet. Everybody's like, if he doesn't start this day, it's a comedy and stuff. I think it's a comedy that you don't understand the big difference between starting as a winger and what you have to do, as opposed to coming and chasing a game in the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's a completely different dynamic, right? And we we see the work that Gakpo is willing to put in on the defensive side that makes it easier to not drop him. Because when you think about a front line of Rio, Hugo, and Mo, that pressing is non-existent, right?
Yeah.
Mo will get back to midway to the halfway line, it'll be gassed. Rio, I mean, obviously he's going to have the energy, but he just doesn't have the defensive tenacity that you want out of a kid that age. And here's the thing too. I know people joke about saying, "Oh well, you mean Lamal's 17, blah, give him a chance. It doesn't matter. Let the legs run." For every 17-year-old Lamine Yamal or Wayne Rooney there's 1,500 other 17-year-olds that burn out and don't do well. So, and this kid, he's playing games in the midweek too. It's not like he's not playing games either. He's playing for the U21s, right? When they play, so he's getting game time. It's just not the same sort of senior level game time. I will say that I think we could be better off if we see him come in a little sooner, maybe like a 60th, 65th minute kind of thing, rather than a 75th, 80-minute kind of thing. I think that would be a better idea to understand what you're going to get from him as far as across the entire pitch.
Yeah.
But if we continue seeing him beyond the 75th minute, there's not going to be enough tracking back that we will be able to see to make the argument one way or the other.
That's fair. I mean, I'm going by the assumption that they know, because they watch this kid in practice all the time. I watch him. I mean, here's the thing: in U21s, what's expected of him is a lot different than what would be expected of him if he starts in the Premier League. So it's kind of like apples and oranges. It's not like you can watch a U21 game and be like, see, he plays the whole 90 minutes and stuff, because the expectation is on, not to mention the physical battle. He is kind of playing, even though at times, most times, he's playing with people older than him. It does look like he's playing with younger kids, the way he kind of like can toy with them and stuff. But I think people get too excited over watching a couple of step overs and is attacking what he can do, taking people on, because I think he does put, maybe that's the difference, like when he comes off the bench. And notice I don't hear any Chiesa sounds anymore, because did we all see enough now? Is everybody happy now? Because I mean, he was pretty brutal yesterday as well, but we'll get to him. I think what he does is he does put more of a fear in the defender than Gakpo and Mo. Is that fair to say? Just because he's fast, he's quick, you don't know where the he's gonna go, and maybe because you're not familiar with him. Like, you've seen Gakpo cut in and do this, blah blah blah. You haven't seen Rio. Like, you've seen the step overs, but you don't know where the hell he's going. He does a little of a Sadio Mane in him, in terms of he might not even know which direction he's going to go, which makes it hard to defend.
Yeah, it depends on wherever the ball goes, that's where Rio's going. I mean, he's going to step over the ball as much as he wants, but then wherever the ball is, he's going there. And I mean, funny enough, you talk about understanding players' tendencies. Gakpo's still able to cut in and do what he wants to do, even though players understand the tendencies. I think that's the thing about what makes some players very good, is if you know what they're going to do and you still can't do anything about it, right? Yeah. Arjen Robben made a living off of just cutting inside on his left foot. That's all he did, but you couldn't stop it. No one could ever stop it, right? Yep. So the unpredictability is a big part of what makes a game more fascinating, I think, for the average fan, because you see something that you don't see throughout the rest of the game. And maybe part of it is nostalgia a little bit, because at least for me, I grew up in the era of step over wingers, right? I mean, the mid 2000s to the late 2000s to the early 2010s, that was step over winger era for me, at least. And we saw that all over the place. And so I think for some people, they look at that and go, "Oh, look at this classic old school ball kind of that we're missing, that direct flair that we're missing." So yeah, I would love to see him get more minutes. I just think that beyond what is expected of him offensively, there's a lot more responsibility that we don't necessarily understand that Gakpo is able to do at the senior level right now that Rio can't. Otherwise, Rio would be playing more.
See, like, this is what kills me, because people are talking about Diaz and stuff, and I just pulled it up over there. What do you guys think? For all these people who are saying Gakpo has not lived up to that, and or has been stopped, like Scotty is saying, last year's stats, what do you think his goal and assist contribution was compared to Diaz for Gakpo?
Diaz's was less.
Yes, even though we featured as actually more somehow, because again, he takes players on, and we like a player who we maybe because we get it played against a lot more ourselves, because obviously people on the counter, they can throw a winger, and like they're going it out like right back or left back, like like Minte or somebody like that, and we're like, oh, he's coming, like the winger is coming, kind of a deal. And because we play mostly against a low block or like a team that's already parked in the back, that's a bit harder to do. But last year, I'm saying it because I know Bob loves a number. Okay, so we're looking at, really, we're looking at Bundesliga. Come on. We're looking at Bayern and Bundesliga. I can get goal. I'm putting it right here. If I play for Bayern, I would have a couple of goals. Just because I had to be just tap it in at the end and stuff like, yeah, he scored. So I don't think that goes. The cut and shoot obviously worked if he got 28 goals and assists last season compared to Diaz's 22. So it does work. I actually like the fact that he is kind of, maybe he's been told to, or he's heard enough about being predictable. I kind of like how he is starting to, after that cut, one, he started to use the overlap a lot more. And two, he's crossing it now a lot more after the cuts, as opposed to taking one more step and shooting it. The only chance we had that I can think of in the first half comes from his cross to Mo on the back post, and Mo gets the Curtis, and Curtis misses. Or that was the second half as well. I think that was second half as well. I don't think we did anything in the first half, to be honest. I can't remember, but if anybody remembers that, I'm sure you guys remember the situation where he crosses the ball, Mo gets it in, and Curtis doesn't get a good touch on it. Otherwise, it's probably like a goal. But I think my thing is, I'm not saying he's playing great. I don't think any of us are saying he's playing great. I think it's just a matter of he's being overpicked on when a lot of the positives he does is not getting looked at.
Yeah, it goes back to just having a scapegoat for the sake of having a scapegoat. Sometimes we're not going to be able to answer this any differently, because Rio is not going to get a start in the Premier League this year to have a comparison to, because that would be the only way we could really evaluate what he brings for an entire 90 minutes with 10 other guys that are at the level that they're at. Because we saw what Kesa did, or what he didn't do when he got that chance. So yeah, there's not going to be much else to say, because most people's minds are made up, and just going back and forth, like with the slot situation, with the Gakpo, whatever it is, people's minds are made up. There isn't much that's going to change. We just have to get to the end of the year at this point, because it's boring. It's boring. It's just boring.
So, that's the thing though, right? Depends on how you get to the end of the season. You look at the recent results, it looks like, if he can keep this up, and I think we were talking about, that's the funny thing, and I didn't want to get into the conversation after the game, but Kazi was talking about this on Friday. And then, in terms of if this team goes on, I think, let me pull up the schedule over here. You have West Ham now, and then you have Wolves away, which is not as easy, as Arsenal can tell you, as it looks on paper. But still, those are two games you can win back to back. And then when you do that and look back, you won, apart from that City collapse, which is a game that you probably should have won, at least got something out of. You have won, 7 out of 8 or something like that, and 4 out of 5 in the league. That's a positive run, it should be, but I think it's looked at in such a negative light that it's hard to get that out of there. No, yes, a lot of his, but my thing is, okay, but it's the same guy, right? It's the guy making the back post run and the guy who's doing the cut and shoot. Is he not making the back post runs anymore? Because I think he is. the ball is not getting there as much anymore. So why is that on Gakpo? Did he stop making those background tap-ins? No, somebody has to make that run. I mean, you'll go back and watch. I mean, Bob, I know is old school. I mean, there are a lot of like goal scorers that when you look at their reels, I mean, Rush is one of them, I feel like, for us, for example. You go back and look at the goals, they all look like, I mean, he's just tapping it in, or he's 1v1 all the time and stuff. But you gotta make that run, you gotta be there. I always go back to the story about like that was like Rush to me, where somebody's going 1v1, it comes off the goalie, there's nobody on screen. As a Liverpool fan, you knew Rush was going to be the first one to enter the screen on that rebound, and he just like taps it in, because that's a goal scorer, that's a poacher goal and stuff. So I don't understand why we kind of like rip on Gakpo over the top. He probably, and I think he has been. I mean, would you say he has changed this game, or are we in a defend Gakpo mode, so we're looking at it differently? Because I know in the beginning it was like, oh, he's gonna cut in and shoot, but now it does feel like he's using that to set up the cross, the overlap, and stuff like that.
I think it does open up the left side. It's just a matter of then using the left side when that overlap is there. And I think my initial frustration earlier in the year was when Kirkes would make some of those runs and they wouldn't even get looked at. So I think over time, as you start seeing these things and seeing these patterns, it really helps to understand how each other play and what is expected of each other. There's a good chance in the beginning of the year, Gakpo was told to ignore the left side overlap. I mean, there are things that tactically they might be being told that we don't know, right? He might be getting told to continue doing what he's doing, and we don't know the answer to that fully. And I get the frustration overall when it seems like it's not working, but because he does have that tendency, because it does work, it does open up that left side a lot when there is the overlap, and now it's being used more, so it makes sense. I found this thing that I wanted to bring up. I don't know if I can get any closer on it. I'm going to try. Well, that's the wrong way.
Going further away, yes.
Wow, I'm hitting the plus button. Do you see that? Oh wait, no, you can't see that because that's not on your screen.
No, we can't. No.
This is as big as it'll get.
Let's see if we can do this and make it bigger or something. Okay.
So essentially, this is the percentile among forwards and wingers from last year and this year. These are Gakpo's numbers. So the numbers that you see are which percentile of wingers and forwards that he's part of. So last year, everything in red that you see is not necessarily bad. It's just the percentage he was in. Most of these, if not all of them, are higher this year because he's having a better performance overall on all the facets of the game. And I know sometimes people hate these sort of advanced statistics because you just want to do the eye test, and I get that. But sometimes there's data that backs up what we don't always see. And this is the data, I think, that is backing up the quality that he's at least having this year as opposed to last year.
So you think it's just because of the end result then? That's, because it does. I mean, if the eye test is looking more at the end results and like the final assist, the final goal and stuff like that, is that why people are over the top negative? Or is it, we don't want to be too harsh on Mo because he's done so much for us, so let's just go to the other side instead, kind of a thing? And like Mo was freaking amazing against Brighton, but not so much obviously this weekend. But again, I find it really hard to look at that game in the first half and be like, man, these wingers are the problem, kind of thing, when nobody in midfield can control the ball. But why do you think then he fails the eye test? Is it just the final product?
I think if this team was winning games consistently and didn't have that rough stretch, there wouldn't be anyone talking about Gakpo the way they are now, because there needed to be a scapegoat. There needed to be someone that isn't Slot that you can look at and go, well, that's all tied together because he likes him so much and he keeps playing him. This is what keeps happening. And so Gakpo was the easy target there, because you look at everyone else, like you're saying, not as much critique and criticism going towards Gravenberch for the year that he's had. A little bit more so, McAllister's had quite a bit of criticism, but not nearly as much as Gakpo. Both of them have been much poorer than Gakpo this year. The only truly the only players that really have been better than Gakpo on a consistent basis throughout this entire year, you could say would be Wirtz, Soboslai, and maybe over the last 2 months, maybe Kirkes, right? I think everyone else
Yeah.
on the team has not been consistently good enough to say that they've put in better shifts than Gakpo. And that's just, I mean, that's based on what I'm seeing and what I think. So obviously it's not, it's not the smartest thing in the room because I'm not the smartest person in the room. But I really don't think that there is as much to hate about Cody's game that there seems to be.
I think is a good shout. And honestly, the funny thing is, I thought you were gonna say Kitike.
I should have
But
mentioned.
I'll be honest, because Kirkes, the way he started, it won't come to a lot of minds. I think because he's still crawling out of the hole people dug for him to be buried in the first like 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season. I think he's been a lot more solid over time. But then again, I think a lot of that has to do with how much help he's getting from Gakpo. I don't think Robertson got this much help from Gakpo in the past on like the left wing over here. Gakpo plays better for the Netherlands than for the club, says Alan. I mean, yeah, I think he's more number-wise productive, and I don't know if he's being asked to do the same thing when you compare like national teams and like with club teams. Position, responsibility, style, and all that kind of stuff changes, including opposition that they play against sometimes. So, I mean, if you're going against like Moldova, he's probably doesn't have as much defensive responsibilities as going away to Forest, for example. So, I don't think it's kind of like apples to oranges.
Yeah, I don't think he's putting in the defensive work for the Netherlands the same way he's putting in for Liverpool. I think Netherlands are setting up with 5 across the back and then 3 midfielders, because typically they have both of their wing backs running up and down the field. So Gakpo is able to play a bit more centrally, like kind of off the striker too, like in up in a 2. So that for him, that will allow you better chances of goal scoring than having to come back and then trying to play off the wing so much.
Abdulrahim says you are the most intelligent person about Liverpool.
You heard it here first. Sorry, guys.
Abdulrahim's thoughts do not represent the thoughts of American Scouser. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that, yeah, you have like Ramadan as well. Hope it's going well for you. That was another thing I was kind of worried about yesterday. I'll be honest. It didn't really show. I thought Konate had like a really solid game. I think, like I say, you look at the game yesterday, I find it hard to focus on anything but the midfield. I have no idea why everybody's looking at like different things. I thought it was very, very clear we were lacking, but it was probably by far, I think we all agree, right? That had to be the worst Liverpool performance in a half that we have seen. I can't even remember the last time I saw it that bad. It felt like even like when the results have been a lot worse. I can't recall a game where it was that bad. Like I say, we had some games where Klopp would talk about the early morning, and they would go out there and like look like crap the first but even then it wasn't this crap.
Yeah, I think Rodgers was probably the last time I had the similar feeling. I think someone in the Discord said it, that it felt like the tail end of the Rodgers era. It was bad. It was very bad. And I think the fact that you can walk away with that from 3 points is I hate to say it, but it is encouraging, because you need to be able to look back and say, okay, when things are really going to absolute shit, you can put your back up against and your back's up against the wall. You can still get something out of it. And to your point that you've made over the last few weeks, I think it shows that they're playing for the manager, right? I don't think this, as bad of a performance it is, and I know it's going to sound ironic saying that, and then saying they're playing for the manager, you don't get that last 15 minutes the way that you did if they're quitting on this manager. I think that's just where I'm at with it. And he's proven that he's got the locker room till at least the end of the year. I truly believe that.
I think so too. I know whenever I say that, people are like, well, they're professionals and stuff, but how many times have we had I mean, I don't think they look at that, Bob. I don't think they're not pushing at the end of a Forest game because they're like, oh, my wages are going to get up or cut down and stuff. I don't think so. But I think whenever I say that, people are like, well, they're professionals and all that. But I mean, we've seen a lot of professional teams tank it to get rid of the manager too. So I don't think that stops anybody from that. And I really don't think that's, and he might be right. I don't know. I don't think they look at that and be like, "Oh shit, let's really hustle over here." Because then they would really tank it, get rid of them, and then go back to rebuild like default settings over there. But I think I said I'm glad I wasn't a fan back then. And a few agreed. Yes, it was pretty rough at some point. But look, see, yeah, I don't. So when
So no one played for Jurgen then. It was just purely their own. Yeah, it's
you
funny
can't have
because
it
you can
both
make
ways.
it whatever you want. Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
can't have it both ways. So you're saying they were just going to play anyway. Club just happened to be there. If you're saying that, yes, I didn't even think of that as
So
a
who
point.
even? So
My
what?
point more was how many times have we said they're trying to get the manager fired? So players do that, or do we just say that even though we don't believe in it? So that's why
Who
I don't buy
even?
that.
We don't even need a manager. What's the point of having a manager if you're not
Yeah,
going
just
to
throw
play
them out
for
there.
one?
I think. Look, there might be a thing about I'm not saying like some of them might be like the professionals and they play anyway or whatever, but you can't say that your boss does not impact how you do your work to a certain extent. Otherwise, like there's not a entire section in the bookstore for motivation, Bob. If it wasn't like I go up front.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
How
some
many?
players might. I mean,
There.
look, no, you will always try. Maybe I think it depends on the individual, right? You might always try, or you might think you'd always try. But anybody who's had a shittier boss knows sometimes you do just enough so you don't look bad, but not really try hard, right? I think that's fair. That happens anywhere in any line of work. I think, regardless of how professional people are, any line of work, if you have a shittier leader, everybody will do just enough and not really go above and beyond and stuff. I and I'm not saying okay, Bob, you're killing me. You pick Stevie G as the just a sampling of a football player. You were like, let me pick an average, just average football player. There you go, Stevie G. I think there are some players, doesn't matter who coached Kobe, right? He was going to do what he does. I mean, there are certain players that are going to do what they do anyway, but I'm saying for the average player, and Stevie G is not an average player. I'm assuming we'll agree on that this morning, Bob, that he's not an average player. I
Below
think
average.
some players might play, but the thing is, the manager does impact how. Otherwise, like, what's the like? Why do we praise Klopp so much? Because when we say they will run through a brick wall for him, that was like that's why we say that because they want that much. They want the manager to succeed. Obviously, they want themselves to succeed, but it's just that will to do more. I think you can argue about the percentage a manager. We talked about this before, like how much does a manager add? I just look at the team and I don't see a team that has quit on the manager, I guess is the only thing. I'm not saying like, they go above and beyond for this manager either, but at least I don't say, he's like lost the changing room or whatever.
He
And players
hasn't.
can force a manager out. Yes. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he hasn't lost the changing room. I think that's my point, or that's what I've been saying is that I don't think we're at that
Yeah.
stage. I think there are way too many factors that went on this year, and I think the players themselves, especially the ones who have been there for a couple years and who went through what they went through this summer, understand that it's not as easy as just getting results. And they also might be looking at it going, not the best season ever, but we went through a lot of things, and I have my health, and that's something I'm going to be grateful for, and
Yeah.
that could be a part of it. So
Chris says not that lucky. Forrest actually was driving. I think we might be lucky that it was Forrest. That's what I consider us lucky because I think if we had another team that was a bit more efficient going forwards with the pass before the pass or whatever, that could have been rough. But I think Bob was saying, or somebody was saying earlier in the chat, that the back line really should get a ton of credits from yesterday. And look, this was a Forest team that has a new manager. And once again, the new manager smell is there. I mean, they played really well against Fenerbahce and made easy work of that game. And you would think they were on a high. So I got that. Forest not have many chances. I think that's what I mean. That I think that goes more for that it was Forest. Like I would be afraid if it was. Let's pick another team over here that could have, like, if it was like, I don't know, like I don't want to even say Newcastle, they can easily score anymore. But you know what I mean? Somebody with who had someone scary up top
Yeah, and I
would
mean,
be in
I think
shambles.
there's a difference between dominating the game and actually having opportunities to like big chances to score, right? I think Forest, yeah, you could say they dominated possession and they had control of the game, but they didn't really have chances where you look back and go, "Oh wow, yeah, they really should have had 3, 4, 5." No, they maybe had
Yeah.
one decent shot, maybe it's a second shot that made sense, but other than that, there really wasn't much. I think the big difference that we want to keep going back to is the midfield. You just mentioned Newcastle. Weirdly, as someone, I think it was Abdul, he put the midfielders up on the screen. It was Elliot Anderson, Gibbs White, and Sangare. Weirdly, I feel like they reminded me of that Newcastle midfield that this team always struggles against, right? You have
Yeah.
that big, like bulky engine that you have in Joelinton, Guimaraes, and Tonali. I feel like that Forest midfield slightly resembles that a little bit. And we've seen, especially over the last, I don't know, 15 months, that a midfield like that gives this team a lot of problems when the midfield is not at its best. So when we keep seeing McAllister and Gravenberch and Jones in this case not playing well, that midfield gets overrun so much. And I mean, just credit where credit is due. Vitor Pereira came in, did what he needed to do in the last couple of days, and they played well. It's just, I don't know, maybe Liverpool just felt like it was one of those walk in the parks and didn't expect it to be as difficult as it was.
Yeah, that break did not do the team well. That's for
No.
sure. But I think one thing is, I felt like, especially in the beginning, Anthony Taylor really let him, especially Sangare, to commit foul after foul after foul. That probably would have stopped a bit earlier if he showed the yellow on one of those challenges on McAllister and stuff. But we were so poor, I couldn't really put anything on freaking Anthony Taylor over there, and which is normally really easy to do. We played that bad that I couldn't even get to Taylor to bitch about because we played that bad. One say the level of refereeing, actually, VR exists as a tool, not a crutch. I did. I watched, half watched. I was making coffee pods as I was kind of like watching the Arsenal Tottenham, and I watched mostly like the second half. It wasn't even the first half, but I think it was. We saw through the FA Cup, and we talked on the rival bros with Edip as well, that it has gone even worse with VAR because that, like what Josh is saying, that crutch is like totally gone. So it's gotten a lot worse because everything is being left for whatever. I mean, like I say, the VAR decision for our first goal is just a stupid rule. It is what it is. The rule, I think, is bad. So it's enforcing the rule and stuff. But overall, like throughout the game, there are some calls that you're like, how is nobody seeing this?
Yeah. Yes. And that's the problem you get into when I don't think if VAR worked in a way where we didn't check so extensively and take so much time on decisions that clearly are not clear and obvious, then we wouldn't have as poor of a level as we do now. Because, was Josh right? Joe was saying about it being a crutch, because you expect everything to be picked through a fine tooth comb. It really makes you question and second guess your decision making in a
Yeah.
game that's so fast, right? Like even like for me, for example, freshman high school basketball in the state of Illinois here, the game goes fast enough sometimes for some of these refs to miss a call. And then you then multiply that by 20 or 30 with how physically athletic and gifted these players are. These human beings are going to make mistakes, especially when you only have really one on the pitch. I think that's the thing that's always amazed
Yeah.
me is that you have this one guy that's doing. And I know you have the assistants on the side, but they're not really making calls like they should.
But
I guess
that's what I don't understand sometimes. Like there will be something happening right in front of the linesman, and it will have to be called by like the center ref, who's like all the way towards like the middle. And I'm like, how are you not seeing it? It's happening right in front of you. How are you not seeing it? And the dude over there is calling it from there. Those are the things that I don't understand. And I don't want it to be like freaking NFL where there's like 30 like more refs running around than players or anything either. But I just don't understand how some very, very basic things are just not seen. And I understand the game is fast and stuff like that, but these guys get paid real well. I think it was like Bickler talking about, as good as the league is in terms of like, or as expensive or as much money as the league has, these guys should be just full-time in what they do. And they should have full-time refs doing this as opposed to, it shouldn't be a side gig at this point, I think. Yeah. But, let's see. Benfica's, I said, the provisional 1-match suspension. I guess here's my question. Why is it only one? If we know something happened, why is it only one? And if we don't know something happened or we can't prove something happened, why did he get, or how does he get banned?
I'm not smart enough to answer that question right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I don't understand. If he did it, it definitely should be one game. If he didn't do it or we can't prove it, then so we're going by if two players say it's against an opposing team. Yeah, that's kind of like a we're right. Jose Mourinho's, I mean, if I talk, I'm in trouble. Is probably what he's. He's probably just
in the media. I'm in big trouble. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I think the way, look, he's gonna back his player, and he can't say, like, oh, he didn't mean it, whatever. Like, he's gonna throw him under the bus. But I didn't understand why he would be like make the really stupid assumption that they can't be racist because their best player was black is the stupidest explanation or theory I've ever heard, even from Mourinho. That was like, yes, I agree. Then see, I agree with something with Bob. It took 50 minutes, but that's not bad. Yeah, I think so too. They're like, they didn't want more drama. Let's give him a 1-match ban. I feel like that's almost like going low. Do you think Mo would play him? If he wasn't suspended, obviously. Because I think he would.
I think he would as well. I think he would as well.
Create something.
Just to, because that's kind of manager he likes to be, is kind of just throw the gasoline on top of the fire and see what happens, for better or for worse.
So let's end with this. Saturday, we play with West Ham. Are you looking forward to it? Are you afraid of it? Where are you at? Because I think that's where we were talking about it actually on Friday with Kazi, that I am not dreading the games as much, but definitely not looking forward, not in the looking forward to it phase either. But are you more optimistic about Saturday? Like this will be a response to how poorly they played, knowing they won. I mean, every player in there knows they had no business winning this. And we've all been in those kind of games where like you walk off and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe we won this. Had no business winning it. And you walked off saying like, I can't believe we freaking lost this. So, and they've been on the other ends way too many times, to be honest with you. Like the City game, for example, in most recent history, if you can't think that far back. So do you think, knowing that, they show a response this Saturday, or this is what we're going to get, a lot of frustration up and down?
Oh man, I feel like we've had this question like 20 times this year.
Yep. And so, it doesn't, like, it changes though, right? Because I feel like, before we went into this game, look, if I asked anybody on Friday, if we beat Forest away, would you be more of a believer and would you start being more optimistic? Everybody would say yes. Everybody would say yes.
I think with Wirtz being back, if he's back, hopefully he is back and he's fine. I think I can look forward to that game a little more. I think I'm more looking forward to the just Champions League games now, because I really think that's the competition that we're going to put all of the eggs in our basket, so to speak. I know that the fight for top 5 is alive and well. I really don't see this team dropping out of top 5, but I do think that the matches will not be the kind of watches that we want to see. They're going to be some of those more scrape by the edge of your seat kind of games. Whereas I think the Champions League is going to be exciting and kind of where we really see this team play the way that we expected them to play from the beginning of the year. And I don't know if that's just because the cup competition allows that style to be better suited for it, or if the players are just maybe up for it a little bit more. I don't know. But overall, I think I'm just more excited for Champions League football than going and playing against West Ham and undoubtedly getting the same crap of the same conversation after each and every game.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm Frimpong should be back in action as well, based on what he said. At least he will be on the bench, even if he's not ready to start yet. So we're going to kind of start getting that. But this is my point right here. Thank you, Josh. I've been saying this forever. Like, he's there. Sometimes shit happens right in front of him. Why isn't it freaking like, can he be like, yeah, man, he did that, instead of like constantly snitching on the managers on the sideline as his job? Like, that's all his job. He's like, he stepped out of the box, by the way, kind of a thing. It's just like, instead of fucking constant, just watch the goddamn game and help us out, will you? It's just like, we don't need you to babysit the managers over there. It feels like that's all he's doing. I clear the VAR camera so you can come in and look at his shit. It's like, I don't understand what the hell the job is. Just, it's almost like they created the job for themselves. But can we, I mean, sure. Definitely not fast or quick.
You hate the winger options now. Just wait till you see us. My God.
Shelton is in the house. Good. Shelton just got out of like 15 inches of snow just to say hi, probably. Because yeah, if you're on the East Coast, I think they are getting hammered. Is that coming our way, or is that just for them?
No, I think we're good. I think we're clear.
All right, well then, good for them. As long as it's like coming this way afterwards, I can just like kind of enjoy. Yeah, it looks pretty rough, but because I saw a couple of photos and stuff like that. But yes, he's not. So I'm worried about the Turkish national team now, because Ferdi looks awfully slow. And this is what kills me, by the way. Middle of the match, everybody wanted freaking only an inch. Yeah, well, hang in there, because it's supposed to be like, I don't know, like it's they making it sound like everybody is getting like 20 inches across the board. But I feel like everybody was talking about like, oh, we should have kept Nico Williams and stuff. I love how we romanticize after a guy, like we did the same with Wilson. You know, like when he's here, he's shit, and then he goes, he looks good on a different team. He's like, oh, I wish we kept him and stuff. You couldn't wait to get rid of him when he was here. You didn't. You said he's not good enough when he was here. You said he was a Trent wannabe when he's here.
Yeah, but I want to be right all the time, so I have to change everything I say depending on what's going on, so I'm right all the time.
Oh man, 2 feet. See, that's what I'm talking about. Get ready, Shelton. It's coming your way. Monday, you're not shoveling, because I wouldn't go out either. It's cold as hell out there. But game plan for the day off. Some of us have to work and slave away here. But
I gotta work too. I got some coaching to do. You know, shit, that's some work to do.
That's not work.
You try to motivate a bunch of.
Sparky says 83 and sunny. Arizona? Are you? I mean, you never know where Sparky's at, so we have to ask, because like true. Here one day, around the corner the other day.
No, but that's
I mean, 83 and sunny. My money is on Arizona, but what are you doing? That's
where my money's at. I got nothing. No grooming for anyone. Just a little bit of coaching. So yeah.
Little bit of. When is the season over? Because I know we can't wait for the Tuesday nights festivities.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. The season is over. He is in Phoenix. Kids gotta learn. Well, but from the Polish prince.
Hey,
His Majesty says, "Run a screen."
I'll have you know, we were down by 20 this past Friday at halftime and came back to win the game. So that was pretty cool. So
really.
Hey, They listened to something.
What did you say?
What the fuck are you doing? Just, you idiots! No, get
over here.
I threw Rio on. That's what I did. So yeah, no,
go out there and do some step overs.
We just pressed. I put the 3 quickest, most nastiest, angriest defenders, and did a full court press, and We had like 7 straight turnovers at one point for easy buckets. It was pretty great.
Bob says Everton will beat United tonight. So Saturday was sweet because Galatasaray lost. So if Fenerbahce wins today and United loses points, this will be a great sporting weekend for me over here. Shelton says feel for Gally, Mecca, and Trevor. Definitely feel for Trevor. A little bit for Mecca. Gally will be fine. Don't worry about it. But Gally will be, hopefully, if he shovels his way out, he'll be with us tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern with Bickler. Do join us. There should be some heated discussion, I'm sure, because after seeing what was being posted on Discord, I was like, ugh, I don't know if I look forward to or kind of not look forward to tonight's podcast. But it should be an interesting one. Do tune in for that. Sheldon says, I hate 4-2-3-1. I think if the 2 plays well, 4-2-3-1 is great. But if it is the way they play, then it's like 4-0-4 is what it looked like at times against Forest. But that's it for us this morning. Tune in tonight. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I always say this, and I don't know if it gets done. So please do grab a friend by their ear and say, hey, go follow these dudes so they can come in the morning and fight with us over here. So we'll see you guys tonight. Have an awesome week, everybody. Take care.